If you have been practicing what you have learned about manifesting wealth and your financial life has not improved, but actually gotten worse, do not close this video. What I am about to tell you may be the most important thing you will ever hear about money and manifestation, because what is happening to you right now is not a sign that you are failing. It is the most powerful signal that your wealth manifestation is working. I know that sounds absurd. I know it sounds like an excuse for pain, but it is neither. It is quantum law. And when you understand why things fall apart before money flows in, you will stop fearing the breakdown. You will start recognizing it for what it is, the demolition of a financial identity that was never yours to begin with, and the construction of a wealth consciousness that no circumstance can take away. Neville Goddard taught that when you change your state of consciousness, the old state does not disappear quietly. It fights, it resists, it creates chaos. And that chaos is not a detour from your manifestation. It is the manifestation in its rawest form, the form it takes before it becomes visible as the wealth you assumed. Today, you will learn the 4 stages of financial breakdown that precede every wealth breakthrough. And you will learn why each stage is proof that the quantum field is reorganizing your financial reality from the inside out. To understand why your financial life has to fall apart before wealth can flow in, you need to know a fundamental principle of physics called phase transition. When any system changes from one state to another, there is a period of instability between the 2 states. Water, before it becomes steam, boils violently. Ice, before it melts, cracks. A caterpillar, before it becomes a butterfly, dissolves completely inside the cocoon. Not gradually transforms. Dissolves. Becomes a formless substance with no recognizable structure. And from that total dissolution, something entirely new emerges. Your financial consciousness operates by the same law. When you decide to shift from a scarcity state to an abundance state, your old financial identity does not make a smooth transition. It collapses. And that collapse manifests in your 3-dimensional life as chaos, bills that seem to multiply, income that suddenly decreases, expenses that appear from nowhere, opportunities that dry up, and your mind, interpreting this chaos through the lens of the old state, concludes that everything is falling apart. But nothing is falling apart. Everything is being reorganized. Neuroscience confirms this through what is called behavioral extinction. When a neural pattern that has been active for years stops receiving reinforcement, it does not shut down quietly. It fires with more intensity, a last desperate attempt of the old circuit to survive. Like a candle that burns brighter just before it goes out. Your old financial patterns of scarcity, of fear, of never having enough, are doing exactly that, burning with full intensity before they extinguish, and you are interpreting that brightness as evidence that nothing works, when in reality it is evidence that everything is changing. Neville Goddard understood this process deeply. He taught that when you assume a new state and persist in it, the old reality has to die for the new one to be born, and death is never silent. The death of the old financial state is experienced as loss, conflict, and crisis. But on the other side of that death is the resurrection of your wealth consciousness. Always. Without exception. There is something crucial you need to understand before we proceed. This video is not for people who have never practiced wealth manifestation. It is for you who already started, who already assumed a new financial state, who already began speaking differently about money, feeling differently about wealth, remembering financial abundance instead of hoping for it, and who is now watching your financial life get more complicated instead of easier. If that is you, you are exactly where you need to be. And this video is going to show you why the place you are in, however uncomfortable, is the most powerful place in the entire process. Because it is the place where most people give up, and those who do not give up cross to the other side, every single time. Before I reveal the 4 stages of financial breakdown, hit the like button right now. Not as an automatic gesture, as a declaration that you will not abandon the process when the difficult phase arrives. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next video will teach you the exact technique to accelerate through each of these stages in days instead of weeks. And write in the comments, "I do not stop." Those 4 words are the most important financial declaration you can make when your old state is fighting for survival, because your old state needs you to stop in order to survive. And when you declare that you will not, you remove its last source of energy. Do it now. The first stage of financial breakdown is called surface chaos, and it manifests as an avalanche of external problems that seem to have no connection to each other. Suddenly, your car breaks down. The same day your boss confronts you about something trivial. That night you argue with your partner about money. The next morning, an unexpected bill arrives, and your mind says, "See, nothing works. Things are worse than before." Have you experienced this kind of pile-up right after you started practicing wealth manifestation? That accumulation of problems is not coincidence. It is the old financial state expelling its contents before disappearing. Think of it like cleaning a house that has been abandoned for years. When you start cleaning, the dust that was settled rises. The house looks worse during the cleaning than before you started. The dust was always there, but it was invisible. Now that you are moving things, it becomes visible, uncomfortable, overwhelming, but necessary. Because you cannot live in a clean house without first removing the accumulated dirt. Your 3-dimensional financial life is doing the same thing. Your new state of consciousness is cleaning house, and the problems that appear are the dust that was always there, but that your old frequency kept hidden. A man in his mid-50s described this stage with a clarity I will never forget. He said, "I started practicing the assumption of financial abundance with total dedication, and the first week was a disaster. I lost a major client. My partner and I had the worst argument in years about money. My car needed a costly repair. I was about to quit everything, but I remembered what Neville taught about the death of the old state, and I decided to persist. By the 3rd week, everything calmed down, and by the 6th week, my financial life was unrecognizable. New clients, peace in my relationship, a clarity I had never felt. The chaos was not the end, it was the beginning." The surface chaos has a duration. It is not infinite. Most people who experience this stage report that it lasts between 1 and 3 weeks, rarely longer. And the duration depends directly on your resistance. If you fight the chaos, if you panic, if you abandon your practice, the chaos extends, because your resistance gives energy to the old state. But if you maintain your new state with calm while the chaos unfolds, the phase shortens dramatically. The paradox is that the less you fight, the faster it ends. The consequence of not understanding surface chaos is that you abandon the process at the most critical moment. Like turning off the oven when the bread is about to rise. 5 more minutes and you would have had the result. What can you do? Nothing different. That is the point. You do not change your practice. You do not intensify your effort. You do not panic. You simply persist in your new state with the same calm you had before the chaos. Because your quiet persistence is what tells the old state that its time is over. There is something specific about financial surface chaos that makes it different from other types of chaos. Money is one of the most emotionally charged domains in human life. So when your old financial state begins to collapse, the chaos it produces tends to concentrate around money. Not randomly, specifically. The car repair costs more than expected. The tax bill is higher than estimated. A payment you were counting on gets delayed. Each of these events, individually, could happen to anyone at any time. But when they cluster together in the same week, right after you started practicing wealth manifestation, the clustering is not random. It is the old financial state dumping its entire inventory at once. Like a store going out of business, everything must go, and everything goes at the same time. This is why the surface chaos feels so overwhelming financially. It is not one problem. It is every unresolved financial pattern from your old state surfacing simultaneously. The good news is that once they surface, they are gone. They cannot come back because the state that created them is dying. Think of it like pulling weeds. Each weed you pull hurts a little, and when you pull 20 weeds at once, it hurts a lot. But the garden is clean, and clean soil grows whatever you plant. Your financial soil is being cleaned right now, and what grows next will be determined by the new state you are persisting in. But the second stage is more subtle and harder to recognize because it affects your relationships. The second stage is called natural isolation, and it manifests as a sensation that people are pulling away from you. Friendships that suddenly cool, conversations that used to flow and now feel forced, invitations that stop arriving, groups where you no longer fit, and your mind interprets this as rejection, as loss, as evidence that something is wrong. But what is actually happening is a quantum reorganization of your relational field. When you change frequency, the people who resonated with your old frequency stop feeling the connection. Not because they reject you, because the tuning changed. It is like changing a radio station. The voices on the previous station do not disappear. They keep broadcasting, but you are no longer tuned to them, and they are no longer tuned to you. Neville Goddard taught that when you change your concept of self, all relationships in your life reorganize around the new concept. Some deepen, others dissolve, and new ones appear that were previously impossible because your old frequency kept them outside your field of perception. A woman in her late 50s described this process in a way that captures both its beauty and its pain. She said, "When I started practicing wealth consciousness, my lifelong friends stopped calling. I felt devastated. I thought I had done something wrong. But 3 months later, I started connecting with people I never would have met in my old life. People who spoke my new language, who understood my new frequency, who saw me the way I was beginning to see myself. My old friends did not abandon me. My frequency left them behind, and the new ones were waiting for me to arrive at their level." The key to navigating natural isolation is understanding that the distance you feel is not caused by the distance itself. It is caused by the story you tell yourself about it. If you interpret it as abandonment, you manifest more abandonment. If you interpret it as the universe making space for something better, you manifest something better. Allow the space. Do not fill the silence with desperation. Trust that the void is temporary and is being filled by something you cannot yet see but that already exists in your new quantum field. But the third stage is the one that destabilizes at the emotional level. If this information is explaining something you are experiencing right now, share this video with someone who started practicing and is about to give up because things got worse. This video can be the difference between quitting and persisting. And persistence is everything. Subscribe because the next video will teach you the specific technique to accelerate through these stages. The third stage is called the emotional storm, and it is the most intense of the four. Suddenly, without apparent reason, waves of emotion invade you that you cannot explain. Deep sadness, anger without cause, irrational fear, crying that appears from nowhere. And your mind desperately searches for a cause. It must be something I said, something that happened, something I ate. But there is no external cause. The cause is internal. Your old financial state is releasing the emotional charge that held it in place. Every state of consciousness is sustained by emotions. Your scarcity state was sustained by fear, anxiety, and desperation. When the state begins to dissolve, those emotions are released, not as a concept, as a physical experience. You feel them in your body, in your chest, in your throat, in your stomach. Neuroscience confirms this. When a chronic emotional pattern is interrupted, the body releases the stored stress molecules from the tissues. It is an emotional detox, and like all detox, it feels worse before it feels better. Think of it like a fever. When your body fights an infection, the temperature rises. Not because the disease is winning, because your immune system is working at full force. The fever is the cure in action. In the same way, the emotional storm is the cure of your old financial state in action. The emotions you feel are not new. They are old emotions that were trapped in your body and are finally being released. Neville Goddard taught that unwanted emotions must be fully felt in order to be released. Not repressed, not ignored, felt, allowed. And when you allow them without resistance, they pass through you like a wave and carry away the remnants of the old state. There is a detail about the emotional storm that can reassure you enormously. The emotions that surface are not random. They are specific. They are exactly the emotions that sustained your old financial state. If your old state was unworthiness, you will feel waves of shame. If it was fear of loss, you will feel waves of panic. These emotions are not new. They are the same ones you felt for years, but that were so integrated into your identity that you did not recognize them as separate emotions. Now that your new state is displacing them, you feel them with clarity for the first time. And that clarity is what makes them so intense. They are not stronger than before, they are more visible. A man in his early 60s told me about his experience with the emotional storm. He said, "In the second week of practice, I woke up crying for no reason. Nothing had happened, but something inside me was letting go. I cried for 20 minutes, and when I stopped, I felt a lightness I had not felt in decades. As if someone had removed a backpack I had been carrying my whole life without knowing I was wearing it." The consequence of resisting the emotional storm is that you prolong the transition. Each emotion you repress is a piece of the old state that stays in place. What can you do? When the storm arrives, sit with it. Do not analyze it. Do not search for causes. Just feel it. Let the emotions pass through you without resistance. They are the old financial state dying. And each emotion that releases is one less chain binding you to the reality you are leaving behind. There is something about the emotional storm that specifically relates to money that you need to know. Financial emotions are some of the deepest and most suppressed emotions in human psychology. People will talk about their relationships, their health, even their fears before they will honestly discuss how they feel about money. There is a shame around financial struggle that most people carry silently for decades. And that shame, that buried emotional charge, is exactly what surfaces during the financial emotional storm. You may find yourself feeling ashamed of past financial decisions, guilty about money you spent or did not earn, angry at people who had more than you, resentful of a system that felt stacked against you. These emotions were always there. They were the invisible foundation of your old financial state. And now they are being expelled. Not because you did something wrong, because you are doing something right. Each wave of financial shame, guilt, or anger that passes through you is a brick being removed from the prison of your old money identity. And when enough bricks are removed, the wall collapses. And behind it is the open field of your new financial reality, a field with no walls, no ceilings, no limits. Only the vast space of someone who no longer carries the emotional weight of a financial identity that was never truly theirs. But the fourth stage is the most paradoxical, and the one that definitively confirms you are on the right path. The fourth stage is called the temptation of return, and it is the last resort of your old financial state before it surrenders completely. Just when you start to feel that the storm is passing, just when you begin to notice moments of peace and clarity about money, a temptation appears, an offer that would take you back to your old financial life. A former employer who suddenly offers you a raise to return to the same job that was destroying you. An investment opportunity that requires you to go back to the frequency you are leaving. A deal that looks good on the surface, but would pull you back into the financial identity you are shedding. Have you experienced this? Being on the verge of a financial leap, and suddenly something appears that tempts you to stay where you are. That is not the universe offering you something good. It is your old financial state making a last desperate bid. Neville Goddard compared this to the biblical story of Lot's wife. When Lot and his family were leaving the old city, they were told not to look back. Lot's wife looked, and she turned into a pillar of salt. She froze. She could not move forward. Looking back at the old financial state, accepting the temptation of return, paralyzes you between two worlds, without being able to fully inhabit either. There is a variant of this temptation that is even more subtle. It does not appear as an external offer. It appears as nostalgia. Suddenly you start romanticizing your old financial situation, remembering the good parts, thinking it was not that bad, that maybe you were exaggerating, that maybe the change was not necessary. That nostalgia is not a genuine feeling. It is your old state using your own memories as a weapon. It selects the best moments from the past, polishes them, idealizes them, and presents them as evidence that you should go back. But it is omitting all the moments of pain, frustration, and feeling trapped that led you to seek change in the first place. A business owner in his late 40s described his temptation of return with honesty I admire. He said, "I was practicing the assumption of a completely new financial life. And just when I started to feel the peace of the new state, my former business partner called offering me double the profits to restart the same venture that had been draining me for years. Double. And for a moment I thought it was a sign from the universe, but it was not a reward. It was a trap. If I had accepted, I would have returned to the same frequency I was leaving. The consequence of falling for the temptation of return is that you reset the entire process. All the chaos you already traversed, all the isolation, all the emotional storm will have been for nothing. What can you do? When the temptation appears, recognize it for what it is. Do not evaluate it with logic. Evaluate it with frequency. Does this offer move me toward my new financial state or return me to the old one? If the answer is that it returns you, no matter how attractive it looks, let it pass, not with pain, with gratitude, because its appearance is proof that your old financial state is so weakened it needs to bribe you to survive, and a state that needs to bribe you has already lost. Now I want to guide you through an experience that prepares you to traverse any of these 4 stages with strength rather than fear. Close your eyes. Relax your body. Take 3 deep breaths. With each exhale, release the interpretation that something is wrong with your finances. Nothing is wrong. Everything is in motion. The chaos you feel is not destruction. It is construction. Your new financial reality is being built right now. And what appears to be falling apart is just the old scaffolding that is no longer needed. Feel your body in this moment. If there is tension, do not fight it. It is your old financial state holding on. Let it hold. You do not need to fight it. You only need to persist in your new state. And quiet persistence is more powerful than any struggle. Now introduce a feeling. The feeling that everything is exactly where it should be financially, not where you would like it to be, where it should be. Feel the perfection of this moment, even with its chaos, even with its uncertainty. All of this is part of the transition, and the transition is proof that the change began. Now imagine you are on the other side, that the 4 stages already passed, that the chaos calmed, that the right people arrived, that the emotional storm resolved, and that the temptation of return passed without power over you. You are on the other side, in your new financial state, and you look back with the calm of someone who already crossed the bridge, and you smile. Not because it was easy, because it was worth it. Hold that smile, hold that calm, and when you open your eyes, carry them with you, because that calm is the frequency your old financial state cannot tolerate, and the more you hold it, the faster it surrenders. Practice this every night this week, especially the nights where the financial chaos was most intense during the day, because those are the nights where your subconscious is most receptive to the new state. The intensity of the daytime chaos opens a window of nocturnal receptivity that normal calm does not produce. It is as if the struggle of the old financial state exhausts the defenses of your old programming, and in that exhaustion, your new state can enter more deeply. The worst nights produce the best impressions. The most difficult nights are the most transformative. Use them. Do not waste them with worry about money. Use them to impress your subconscious with the quiet certainty that your wealth is already a completed fact. What you learned today is possibly the most practical teaching we have shared on this channel about money. Because it did not teach you a new technique, it taught you to correctly interpret what happens when all the wealth techniques start working simultaneously. Surface chaos is not financial failure, it is cleaning. Natural isolation is not rejection, it is reconfiguration. The emotional storm is not regression, it is release, and the temptation of return is not an opportunity. It is the last offer of a financial state that is dying. Neville Goddard taught that persistence is the only virtue the law requires. Not perfection, not intensity, not speed. Persistence, continuing to inhabit the new state when everything around you says it is not working. Because what you see on the outside is the echo of the past, the impression of the old financial state still manifesting while the new one is being built in the invisible. And one day, without warning, the echo fades, and the new appears, not gradually, suddenly, as if it had always been there waiting for you to stop listening to the echo. That day is closer than you think. and every moment of persistence brings it one step nearer. Trust the process, trust the law, and above all, trust yourself, because the fact that you are going through this phase proves something you must never forget. You changed. Your old financial state would not be fighting if you had not changed. Its struggle is your proof. Its chaos is your confirmation. Its death is your birth into wealth. Here is what I want you to carry with you through every difficult financial moment that comes. Every person who ever transformed their financial reality went through exactly what you are going through. Every single one, without exception. The difference between those who made it and those who did not was not talent, not luck, not a special technique. It was that they did not stop. They allowed themselves to feel the pain of the transition, knowing that on the other side was the financial life they had assumed. And when they arrived on the other side, every one of them said the same thing. The chaos was necessary, the pain was temporary, and the new financial reality was better than what they had imagined, not different from what they imagined. Better, because the quantum field is not limited by your imagination. It is limited by your assumption. And when your assumption is abundance, the field delivers forms of abundance that your conscious mind could never have designed. Write in the comments, "I do not stop," followed by which stage you recognize most in your financial life right now. Surface chaos, natural isolation, emotional storm, or temptation of return. When you share your stage, you help every person reading these comments feel that they are not alone in the process. Share this video with anyone who started practicing wealth manifestation and is thinking about giving up because their finances got worse. This video can be the difference between abandoning the process and persisting through it. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the next video, we will reveal the night technique that Neville Goddard used specifically to accelerate the transition phase and reduce the period of financial chaos from weeks to days. It is the technique that transforms the discomfort of change into the peace of someone who knows it is already done. Do not miss it. Persist. It is already working.